Hello, everybody. It is Sunday, the 23rd of July. Today, I want to talk about aliens, this whole disclosure thing, and yes, the knowledge of good and bad, spiritual knowledge from which we should judge. That is the spiritual knowledge of ourselves. The knowledge of good and bad from which we should judge. And a lot of what we know is also experience, and we should draw on that as well, and really a lot. Because if we do not learn from the mistakes of our past, we will repeat them. So, what is driving this at the moment is I was watching Gregg Braden last night. And I think I will leave the link to that interview in the description box, or to that program. It wasn't an interview. And I'm worried. I'm really worried now, because Gregg Braden is a very prominent voice in what is happening at the moment. And he's a great influencer. He is an influencer. He influences the thoughts of people. You know, his opinion carries weight, and people will take it on board. And I really think what he said last night, or what I heard last night, worried me. Right. So, let's start with, what are aliens? And how does that actually connect to spiritual knowledge? Well, if you go by the thought that it is consciousness, it is spiritual, which creates the form. Yeah? So then it is the spiritual is the source of the physical. And it is God, and that is God as consciousness, a part of consciousness. God is something that is self-aware, that has got knowledge, that has got imagination, that has got desire that is outside of which would be needed just to sustain the form. He can go further out than that. And he's got absolute self-determination. That is a God. The all is, it just contains everything that God needs. All the knowledge, everything that God needs in order to create. And it will give, and it will give without judgment. That's what Jesus said. So, really, the big difference is, if you look at nature, if you look at trees, if you look at the vegetative state, the animals, yeah, they have needs, and they are driven by needs. Especially with animals, yes, come breeding season, the desire will most certainly turn up. But they really have no control over that. Yeah. So whereas with us, we can create desires out of knowledge, out of desire, out of imagination, out of the knowledge of possibilities. We can create desires that are outside of the box, out of that box. And that is a God. So, and then the the spiritual creates the physical. Yeah? So our spiritual being is creating a physical form, and we're calling that physical form a human being. Yeah? So then if something is not us, or not completely like us, then you can call that physical form an alien. It's still created by a spiritual being, and quite possibly a God. Something that has complete self-determination. So there's actually no conflict. If you understand that, there is no conflict. that an alien could be a god, meaning that spiritually they have complete self-determination and they're creating themselves. So that's the first thing. And then the spiritual is the source. Yeah? The source is not in a different dimension. The source is not going all the way back to the Big Bang. Return to source. Return to the spiritual knowledge of yourself. That is the source of you. It's not far out. It is very close to home. Right. So if we take that as a foundation about what it is I'm talking about now, what worried the hell out of me. The one sentence in the whole thing that really worried me was when Greg Braden said, well, the military is viewing them as a threat. But, in my opinion, if they have this great technology and if they can come here, if they wanted to hurt us, they could have done that for the last 200,000 years or something, as long as we are around. But they haven't done that. So, kind of implying that they are benevolent. Because if they could have hurt us, they would have already done that. And that, in his view, is coupled with the seeing the price, seeing the outcome, seeing the technology that we might be given. Yeah? I mean, I still think that we don't need it. Whatever technology can do, faith can do. The working of our energy body could do that. We could do that for ourselves. I believe that, but leave that to one side. So he sees the price, technology, and how it would create or how it would alleviate need on this planet, especially need for energy, and how this could be a great equalizer, how it would set us free. So you can see that he's kind of has tunnel vision on what it could do. And he's kind of now assuming that the intentions with which it is given are good. And I don't think you can make that assumption at all. I mean, need is one of the way that we, in this world, by which they can control us. If we are in need, they can control us. Because they can control that which we need. Desire is another way by which they control us, by showing us, it is really the carrot, that will make us go along following the carrot. So it is carrot and stick that has always been used. And right now I think we're being dangled a huge carrot in front of us. Yeah, and Greg Braden seems to be going for it, hook, line and sinker. First of all, need is being created at the moment in this world. I mean, big stuff. It is being created, artificially created. Fear is artificially created to the point where we are drowning or perceive that we are drowning. And then again, if somebody, reaches down with a glowing hand to a wonderful future, I mean, you can actually get that far into drowning that you don't no longer care anymore why they pull you out. But, it is even better if you think, if he pulls me out, then not only will I not drown, but the future is going to be wonderful. We're being driven to that point where we are thinking like that. I think that is part of Greg Braden thinking, we are drowning and there's the solution. And all we have to do is make contact, let go of fear. Let go of fear and make contact. How often have we been promised that something would lead to a great future only to find out that they use that to have control over us? They weaponized knowledge against us. But now we're assuming again that they are all benevolent. I mean, in this world, innovation has, for the most part, not all, I mean, sometimes there were good intentions, but as soon as something was found, it was weaponized anyway. But a lot of innovation in this world was driven forward by greed and by the desire to rule over, to have control. Yeah? And if that is what has driven innovation in this world, why would you assume that couldn't happen in another? The way that our societies are built, the power structure in this world, where you have the few on the top that have the knowledge, the true knowledge, that have the intention to rule over, and that use the knowledge in that way, and that build power structures, and you're keeping the base, the minions, in ignorance. Yeah? Why do you think that the societies of those that are coming are not built in that way? That they are exactly the same as us? Yeah? I mean, and that you are talking to the top, and you do not see the minions that they have that live in squalor. Those are all assumptions that we cannot make. We don't know. And now we're being told, the disclosure that was made was that we have craft that crashed, or worse, that may have been brought down, and that the knowledge we have is from what's it called, reverse engineering what we have found. Again, that's a big assumption. We've been told that, and we're to accept that is why we have so much technology now, because we reverse engineered that which came down. So that's the story we're being told. What if we have, and there are stories of that as well, that we actually have that technology through cooperation, that we are actually in contact with something, and that there is an exchange, cooperation of knowledge, an exchange of knowledge. And then it seems that those that cooperate with people in this world are actually cooperating with our greatest megalomaniacs and psychopaths. So if that is who they are cooperating with, what does it say about them? Yeah? So, and again, that you can reason that way, out of the knowledge of yourself, out of the knowledge of humanity, out of the lessons of history. You can reason in that way, and I think you should. Make use of what you know. And spiritual knowledge of yourself, the more you are drowning, the more likely you do not question the helping hand that pulls you out of the water. That is knowledge of self as well, of us. So the last thing, and here is really something for your consideration, and that is what Gregg Braden said, if they could have heard us, they had the chance for 200,000 years. Yeah? they would have already done it. I have a feeling they already did. They have been doing it. They have been hurting us. Not physically, but mentally. They've stunted our spiritual development, the knowledge of self. One of the things they used was obviously Rome, which stunted our spiritual knowledge. Actually, it came to a grinding halt. The development of our spiritual knowledge came to a grinding halt with Rome. And that was allowed to go ahead. Why? Because it served something. So, no, I think you cannot assume that they have not been hurting us for a long, long time. I think they have. Just not physically. And then, the last point really is, if you have to have a revolution, let's say in a country, you only need a small part, and that's what we keep saying, you only need a small part to flip the whole thing over, a small part of the population. What bigger part of all of humanity do you need to flip this whole thing? And do they have a hope of enough people at the top to flip all of humanity? Greg Braden is putting an assumption out there that is, I would say, either dangerously naive, or he's starstruck, or he's just caught in the light of the good that this could do, and no longer questioning the intention, and that's dangerous. But I said he is a great influencer. People will listen to him. People will take that thought on board and make it a basis for their own reasoning. And he is leading people onto a path. And I said he's making assumptions that we cannot make. And when you go by the experience of ourselves, and if you say if it happens to us, it can happen somewhere else. They may not be that different from us. In fact, law of attraction might say that if we really attract somebody else out there, law of attraction would say that it's most likely that they are like us, in which case it's not good. I really wish there were more voices like mine. You know, is what I'm saying, the thoughts that come to me, are they brought on an energy of fear, of doubt? Yes, absolutely they are. Does it hold you back? Or is it does it restrict you? Does it slow you down? Yes, absolutely it does. But fear and doubt can work for good. They can do good. They are not evil. Everything has a duality. Everything has, and that is a fact. Yeah? And just because you're trying to get out of duality, therefore you're getting out of reasoning, because you have no longer two sides to reason about, that doesn't mean that that reality does not exist. It just means you're no longer seeing it. And you're blind. If you are one-eyed, you're actually half blind. I really wish I could be more of a restricting voice. You call that a satanic voice? Yes, full on. And it can work for good, and I wish it could. But the lunatics are being taken out of assuming that everything that is out there is so much greater, and it is good. Oh, it's good, of course it's good. They would have heard us a long time ago. Not seeing that quite possibly they have already done that. Because you're looking at the physical and not the spiritual. And we are both. And you can hurt one part of us. Only one part of us. And it will have an effect on the whole. And in the end, look at the book of Revelation. There are only a few that go into New Jerusalem. Yeah? They are the ones that are in full agreement with God. And they are in the light of God. And the rest go under the rod of iron. The carrot for them and the stick for us. Anyway, I leave it at this for today. I tried to remember to put the link to that, what Greg Braden said, in the description box. It is a dangerous assumption that he's making there. Anyway, I leave it at that for today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.